Welcome to the University of the Philippines, Diliman, College of Arts and Letters, BAHAGINAN. Launched in 2016, BAHAGINAN, or Sharing, is the college's research dissemination platform. In response to the many challenges of theater artists and educators in the time of the pandemic, the Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts, in cooperation with the Office for Initiatives in Culture and the Arts, organized Emergency Theater and Performance. Through these brown bag sessions, theater practitioners and educators will share their experiences and insights on performance making amidst the lockdown and health crisis. The sessions will run from October 9 to November 25. I wish to thank our speakers for sharing their precious time with us. No online module can match their experiences in the theater. So join us as we learn, be enlightened and inspired in the wonderful world of theater and performance. And as we say in the theater when we welcome our audience, enjoy the show!
Yan. Good morning sa ating lahat.
Good morning!
Gusto ko yung parang wala pang energy. Sorry, galing pa akong kabilang klase. Galing akong kabilang classroom. Good morning po ulit. Sorry, wait lang. Ito na, mag-energize lang ako. Okay, good morning sa lahat. Ito po. Welcome ulit sa Brown Bag Session. Sorry, nag-aano lang po ako para pag in-edit po namin at pinost namin to sa YouTube. Alam ko yung time frame kung kailan ko to ika-cut. Hello, good morning. Tapos ngayon, ika-cut ko na siya, okay? Good morning sa ating lahat. Welcome to Emergency Theater and Performance. Part po ito ng BAHAGINAN. Maraming salamat po sa College of Arts and Letters, sa OICA, at sa Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts para po sa brown bag session na ito about the problems and possibilities of theater and performance during the pandemic. For today, ang i-discuss natin, ang host class natin today is Theater 123 or ang issues in Theater and Events Management. Ang ating speaker for today ay isang educator, theater practitioner, and writer. Siya ay graduate ng BA Theater Arts dito sa UP Diliman at nag-holding siya ng master's degree in education, major in language and literacy education sa UP Open University. Siya din ay isang professional stage manager ng Tanghalang Pilipino at the Cultural Center of the Philippines for 5 years. And nakapagtrabaho na siya sa iba't ibang theater companies tulad ng Atlantis, PETA at ng Duality UP, Philippine Valley Theater, and Broadway Asia. And siya rin po ay meron din siyang award na Don Carlos Palanca Awards for Literature, first place for her one-act play, Traje de Boda, noong 2003. Ngayon, please welcome Maria Kristine Chynna Rojas.
Thank you, Ish. Salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you, Professor Carlo and Professor Olive, sa inyong lahat for this invitation. Like what Ish said a while ago, I was a resident stage manager for Tanghalang Pilipino for almost 6 years from 2003 to 2009. And like you, I was a student in UP from CTA, Certificate in Theater Arts, to BA Theater Arts, until I shifted to education and took my master's. I left the Philippines in 2009 to be a teacher overseas, and from there shifted to different countries. And right now I am in Virginia, USA, and this is my 4th home. So welcome to everybody. I will be discussing to you a case study on touring productions, Unmasking the duality and complexity of the role of a stage manager. This is really very dear to me because what I will be discussing with you are two of the most well-loved productions that I have done and stage managed for in Tanghalang Pilipino. So we will be using Himala the musical and ZsaZsa Zaturnnah the musical as our case studies for today. Himala the musical was chosen because it started in Tanghalang Hoseng Batute in CCP, and then we moved it to Little Theater, and then we were invited to have it an excerpt staged in the Asian Drama Festival in Shanghai, China. So from Localicia, we flew to Shanghai, China to do an excerpt of Himala the musical. Now, ZsaZsa Zaturnnah is very special because It ran in most of the theater venues in Manila. um, from CCP to PETA Theater Center to Sinag Arts Theater to RCBC Theater Makati. So marami siyang naikutang theaters in Manila. So I hope that you will be able to get a lot of information on touring productions and how to stage manage when touring a production in this lecture. I'm also inviting you to make this as organic as possible. If you have any questions, you may type it in the chat box, and we will go back to it as we go along or later on during the Q&A. Importante na magtanong. That is your opportunity to learn more. Okay? So let us start. So the agenda today is the Touring SM's language kit. I would like for you to be familiar with some of the words and terms that we use while touring productions. We will be discussing our first case, which is Himala the musical, the successes and considerations for touring, additional roles of a stage manager while on tour, and the challenges that I have encountered and the production has encountered as well. And then after discussing Himala, we will be moving on to ZsaZsa Zaturnnah the musical. We will be also discussing the successes and considerations for touring, some of the additional roles that I had while on tour, and then the challenges I have encountered and the production as well. And then later on, the last part of the lecture would be the touring SM's thinking kit, the shoulda, woulda, coulda. What are the things that I could have done, my final thoughts and realizations. So I hope that you will stick with me today, and let's do this. So the Touring SM's language kit, some of the terms that you will be encountering would be a strike plan, the ingress or egress, itinerary, changeover schedule, touring agreement, and handoff. So I just would like to ask your background knowledge on this. Can you type the word green if you know most or all of the terms listed? Type the word orange if you know half of the terms listed. And type the word purple if you know few or very few of the terms listed. Just for me to see what are the things that I should be digging deeper with you guys in this. Okay, so I'm gonna give you maybe 2 minutes. Look at the words on the left side and type green if you think you know most of this, orange if half, and purple if you only know very few or few of the terms listed. All right, maybe 20 seconds and we'll see. Okay. How come? Ayan. Well, from this list, it's very varied, no? Some of you type mostly purple. Okay. There are some who typed orange as well, like Tin, Gary, Danny, Marga, and Dar. Those who type green and orange, can you just quickly um, let me know what are the words that you know and maybe give a brief of explanation of what do you know about these terms. Is it possible to do that? Can someone volunteer to share an answer? Anyone? Anyone?
Um, Sinong gustong sumagot? Yung mga nag-orange? Tama ba ako, Chynna?
Oo.
Oh.
Yeah, if you type the word orange or green, because I've seen some, and meron namang may mga alam dito sa words na to or terms na to. Can you just give a brief explanation of what do you know about these terms? Huwag kayo mag-alala, hindi ko naman kagigradean.
True.
Gusto ko lang malaman kung anong alam nyo dun sa word.
Makakinig tayo from one BATA student and from one AAT. Okay lang ba mamili ako, Chynna?
Sige lang, go.
Abby, are you there? Hi, Abby. Si Abby ay ating BATA. Abby, pwede
Hi,
ka
Abby.
Oh.
Meron ka bang words na alam dito sa left side?
Familiar po ako sa itinerary.
Sige, ano ang itinerary?
Based from my experience, parang ito po yung very detailed na schedule. Dito makikita kung anong oras precisely and kung anong gagawin at that time. And usually where it takes place or where you're supposed to go. Ayun po.
Yes, thank you very much, Abby. Yung itinerary, tama si Abby doon. It is a very detailed schedule. Minsan, ang tawag sa kanya din ay time and motion. So, ito rin ha, these are some of the most commonly used terms. Pero these terms vary from one country to another. So, baka ma-encounter nyo siya in a different production house or in a different country, and it will be named differently. Nangyayari talaga yon. So, like what I said, yung itinerary, sometimes it's called a time and motion kasi nakalagay doon kung anong oras mangyayari ang isang specific action. Okay? So, for the Turing SM's language kit, eto na siya. The strike plan is a plan that assigns who are involved during the strike and the list of tasks and expectations. So, mostly, yung mga nakikita nyo dito, either the PM or the SM ang gumagawa. Strike plan, mostly, SM ang gumagawa niyan because the SM assigns who's going to strike what prop, what costume, from what entrance, from what exit, hanggang saan siya ibabox. Hanggang saan patungo, sinong tatanggap, who will unload, and where is the next destination of that specific prop or costume. So, ganun kadetalyado ang isang strike plan. And then the ingress or egress, we also call this load in or going in. Egress is load out or exit or going out. So it just simply would let you know when are you going to enter the venue and when is the exit in the venue. Okay, itinerary, like what Abby said, it's a travel document for a planned route or journey. So dyan nakalagay sino nga alis, what time, where, and when, and who are the people involved. Okay. Changeover schedule is a combination of a strike plan, setup plan, and rehearsal schedule when there's no dark theater in between transitions. So if you're not familiar with dark theater, that's a term that we use kung walang gagawin, walang ibang mangyayari doon sa venue. So say for example, say CCP, no, sa Tanghalang Batute. There's a production ongoing there, pero yung production na yon itutour. Now, in the middle of the run of the show of that said production, on the last show, tapos may papasok na isang production, no? Pero may ilang araw na walang mangyayari doon sa venue. So that's what we call a dark theater. Ngayon, yung changeover schedule, ang kagandahan niya is nandoon na yung strike plan, pati rehearsal schedule and setup plan kasi free yung venue. So, meron kang pwedeng gawin. Kumbaga, isahang tuhog na lang siya. Okay? The touring agreement is an essential agreement drafted to ensure proper decorum of cast and staff, before, while on tour, and post tour. Now, in the Philippines setup, and as per experience of mine, the essential agreement or the touring agreement is mostly the contract. But in other practices in other countries, yung touring agreement is also another letter drafted by the stage manager addressed to everybody, staff and cast, what are the that says what are the expectations for the tour. And then the handoff, or we also call it a turnover, process of turnover of tasks, especially for new cast or staff. Lalo na in touring productions, sometimes yung core staff or core actors mo don't really stay the same kasi some of them might have different projects, and when that show start, you wouldn't know na itutour pala siya. So those people were not able to make booking for that specific production. So normally you would hire a new batch of cast or staff, and the handoff is the process of turning over the tasks. What do they need to know so that they can prepare for, so that you can prepare the new cast and staff for their task. Okay? So I hope this is clear with everybody. If you have any questions on any of these, just type it in the chat, and then we will go back through it when we have time later on during the Q&A. Okay? So our first case study is Himala. This is for me, one of the best theater productions in the Philippine history. I would really say that. This is the first ever staging of Himala, the musical. We will be discussing the successes and considerations for touring, bakit ito ang napiling itour ng Tanghalang Pilipino, and what are the additional roles on tour that I have experienced, and the production experience, and the challenges I have encountered. Okay. So what are the considerations and successes for touring? First of all, Himala, the musical, is composed of award-winning creative team and cast. Soxy Topacio was the director, Ricky Lee was the playwright, Vince De Jesus was the musical director, Jay Cruz as choreographer, Gina Gonzalez, set and costume designer. And the cast, my God, is composed of, I would say, really the best of the Philippine theater. We have May Bayot, Cynthia Guico, Isay Alvarez, Dulce, Jai Aracama, Mia Bolaños, Eladio Pamaran, Johnson Uy, Ruben Laurente, Ariel Reyonal, Lionel Guico, Melvin Lee, and Anjali Bayani. Now, if some of these people you don't know, I think you should try to research on them because they really did a fantastic job in transforming Philippine theater. So why was Himala chosen for touring? One reason is that it's one of the first movie to musical adaptations. Everyone was so excited staging Himala at that time. And then for Shanghai International Festival, they wanted us to send an entry that is an original Filipino musical. And then it was also based on a classic Filipino film. So that's the reason why, okay, let's do Himala and have it staged in Shanghai. And then it answered the call for a larger audience viewership. What does it mean? At that time, Himala the musical was staged in Batute, which, if I'm not mistaken, is even less than 500 seating capacity. And a lot of times we are turning away audiences because it's already overbooked. And in every theater, there is a seating capacity, a maximum seating capacity, and CCP is very strict on that. They will not let you go beyond the maximum seating capacity. So we have, at that time, we had to turn away audiences, and we felt na sayang naman. Kasi sayang din yung kita, the profit, and this play is really something that is really worth it na panoorin and to be shared with the Filipino people. So let's say, okay, um, let's do another run for this. And then it was also an award-winning musical. I believe May Bayot got her Best Actress in Aliw Award for this. Okay, let's talk about my additional roles on tour. So I am the stage manager, sorry, for this production. However, I was also asked to be one of the actors. Ayan, kung nakikita nyo ko dyan, ayan ako. Because one is, the festival is only allowing 10 people for participants. And so, including ang staff doon. So, we counted who are the main actors that needed to be there and plus who will be the main staff. So, nagkaroon ng decision na, okay, yung stage manager kailangan umarte din para mabuo yung cast for this excerpt. And then, etong nakikita niyong two roles dito as production manager and assistant to the technical director, these are the non-official roles. Why would I say non-official roles? I was hired as a stage manager. In my contract, it appears stage manager and actor. But when you go on tour, there are so many things that will happen along the way. And you will have to bear those little things, little roles with major responsibilities that will be assigned to you. So, although hindi ako fully PM non or fully assistant to the technical director, I have to be. I can't say no to the job because I'm already there. And plus, everyone takes another role. Can you imagine actors, yung mga actors ko, Isay Alvarez, May Bayot, Lionel Guico, Mia Bolaños, they are my set changers as well. It's a humbling experience for me to tell them that you have to strike this from stage left to stage right, or you have to preset your props in this area, blah, blah, blah. And then Sir Dennis was the artistic director then for Tanghalang Pilipino. Then he was with us for the tour as our technical director, our director, and lighting designer. But he's also our company manager when we were there. So even if on the paper it says I am hired as a stage manager and actor, how can I say no to doing some jobs of the PM or some jobs of the assistant to the technical director when everyone takes another role? You have to just pitch in and move on. If you want to have a good performance, just do it. And actually, when you are on tour, mas malaki yung part na nasa iyo na you just want to do it. Not because nagbibilangan kayo kung ano yung ginawa mo na to, ginawa ko na to, pati ako, ito pa, ganyan. Hindi na yun eh. It's not a question anymore. It's about you doing the job and wanting to have a good performance. So this was really fun for me. Now, what were the challenges encountered during the production? So on the left side, you will see the challenges for every venue and the solutions that we had. So in THB or Tanghalang Husang Batute and Little Theater, of course, there was a change in the venue and change in schedule. And then when the venues changed, we had to modify the set pieces, props, and costume. And then when the schedule changed, ang first na itatanong ba dyan, libre ba yung mga actors and staff mo for the new schedule? Kasi if not, then you would have to hire additional cast or alternates additional staff. Now for the Shanghai, again, may change in venue. So there is a massive change in the set pieces, props, and costume. Isa pa, hindi full performance yung ginawa sa Shanghai. They only asked us to do, I think, a 15 or 20-minute excerpt of Himala. So, nagkaroon din ng change sa script. And then, changes in schedule, nagkaroon ng downsizing the number of cast. Then, language barrier. Wala ni isa sa amin ang marunong mag-speak ng Mandarin. So, we requested for an English-speaking tour handler. And then, there was a very tight itinerary that was not imposed by Tanghalang Pilipino, but from the festival organizers. So, ang nangyari dyan, everyone helped. Everyone has an additional responsibility. Kasi I believe yung setup lang namin noon was only like an hour. So you have to do everything that you can in that 1 hour. And how are you gonna do that? You have to ask help from everybody. So before I move on, I would just like to have a quick check-in kung okay pa ba ang everyone. Okay pa ba kayo? Can you do like a thumbs up before I move on to this? Thumbs up or just type okay or I'm good sa chat box. Ayan. So, feeling ko okay pa naman kayo. All right. So, okay. I'm gonna move on. So now I am going to let you see visually what are the changes that happened. And for some of these, I hope that you'll be able to pinpoint or recognize the changes or the modifications. So again, there was a change in venue for Himala the musical. The one on the left is the Tanghalang Huseng Batute set, and the one on the right is the Tanghalang Aurelio Tolentino or Little Theater. So if you can see from this small scale of a set, it was massive on the right side. Now let us look at what are some of the modifications that were done for this. Now both sets were designed by Gino Gonzalez. And some of the modifications are, if you see the windows here in Tanghalang Huseng Batute, they are all manual. What do we mean by that? As in, may ASM ako na nagtutukod ng wood dyan sa bintana na yan para bumukas. So manual siya in Tanghalang Huseng Batute. Now, when we went to LT, lahat ng windows na nakikita nyo na yan, na nakabukas, pulley system na. Pero, hindi pa rin siya automated. So, meaning, meron akong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 riggers na nasa gilid ng LT na nagre-rig ng rope just for the pulley system to work. Kasi, dahil mas malaki yung venue mo, mas mabigat ngayon yung windows mo. So that's why these are some of the things that you have to think about when you're touring a production, either from a small scale production to a larger scale or large to small. Okay. Now, from 2 windows and 3 doors, nagkaroon ako ng 5 windows and 2 doors in LT. Now, you can also see the placement of the bridge here. Medyo extreme left ang placement ng bridge dito sa Batute. Here in LT, it goes all the way down to the aisle to the audience area. So, ano siya, nakatukod siya to the audience area. And if you also see, the burol here is a very iconic piece of Himala because that's where Elsa saw the Virgin Mary, that's also where the rape scene happened. So here in Tanghalang Huseng Batute, you can see na yung burol paakyat. Pagdating ng LT, nandito na lang siya, and then came the illusion. Okay? Diyos ko, napakahirap netong burol na to. Ang maintenance nito sa Tanghalang Huseng Batute. Sobrang nagkakasakit yung staff namin yan kasi yung ginamit na material sa kanya hindi siya friendly for an indoor theater. Okay? Addition of grasses in LT. If you can see, dito meron ng mga grasses, sa Batute wala. And then, if you look closely on the set, yung mga makikita nyong parang maliliit na tukod na yan, we call them pegs. So, dito sa Tanghalang Huseng Batute, parang iilan lang ang pegs niyan. Diyan sinasabit yung mga props for one of the scenes in Himala. Pagdating ng LT, halos lahat yan, binudburan na ng pegs. Okay? Kasi mas malaki yung venue, so kailangan mas kita yung prop. Now, pagdating sa Himala in Shanghai, China, ito ang nangyari. First of all, discard this wall picture. Kasi itong picture na to was taken from Himala in PETA when the Himala concert was held. I asked Gino if he still has a photo of the one that we did in Shanghai, pero he doesn't have a photo. Now, for you to get an idea kung ano ang natira sa Shanghai, nakikita nyo itong mga branches na to. Yan na lang po ang natira sa Shanghai. So, from the massive set, from Tanghalang Huseng Batute, pinalaki sa LT, pagdating sa China, branches na lang ang natira. Yan na lang ang nadala namin. Ngayon, these branches were made of fiberglass. Okay? Bakit branches na lang? Initially kasi, ang idea talaga ni Gino ay suspended siya. So, parang ito, nakikita nyo. So, since hindi naman pwedeng ito pa, yung materials na i-import nyo, kasi dadaan ng customs yan sa touring. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-import ng seed, ng live plant, ng puno, kung hindi treated yan. So, since mamomroblema ka pa sa ganoong kapasidad, ginawa na lang siyang fiberglass para walang problema. Ngayon, ang problema naman sa fiberglass, kailangan mo siyang i-wrap in such a way na hindi siya mababasag pagdating niya sa venue. So, yun talaga, sinuper make sure ko with the organizer and the coordinator na ang material niyan is fiberglass, please. It's fragile. It's the only set that we have, and it's something that we really, really need for the show. Para hindi talaga siya, para may extra care for that. Okay, set props and pieces. The one on the left that you see is the langit number in Himala, Tanghalang Huseng Batute. If you can see the Disco Heaven sign, pagdating ng LT, mas malalaki na yung letters kasi kailangan mag-pop siya from the audience point of view. So, kailangan mas malapit siya sa audience and at the same time, mas malalaki yung letters. And then, yung costumes ng mga girls, since dito sa Batute, kita nyo medyo kumpul sila dahil mas malaki yung venue sa LT, nagdagdag ng mga tao. Ngayon, nag-adjust din yung choreography. Now that we have space, nag-add ng costume naman. So may mga sarong na yung girls pagdating ng LT. Now, for the Himala in Little Theater, lahat ng props lumaki. Kailangan siyang palakihin big time. And at the same time, kailangan siyang padamihin. So isa rin yan sa mga iisipin nyo pag nag-tour kayo, lalo na kapag ang venue mas malaki. Kailangan makita yung props. So kailangan mas marami siya at mas malaki. Okay? Next, itong Virgin Mary namin, maaaliw kayo dito. Kasi yung next slide, makikita nyo kung gaano talaga siya kaliit or gaano yung size niya. The one that you see on the left is one of the iconic scenes in the Himala musical. Kasi yan yung appearance of the Virgin Mary kay Elsa. Now, you can see, nandito siya. Siguro ito mga 3 feet, 2.5 or 3 feet na Virgin Mary. Nung procession scene, dinadala lang yan ng chorus. So, as in dala-dala by hand. Pero pagdating ng Little Theater, may karo na siya. Nandun na siya sa wooden carriage na to with all these white things that you see. Kasi nga, mas malaki na yung venue. So, kailangan larger than life din yung prop mo. Pero, tingnan nyo to. Itong prop namin sa THB, sa Tanghalang Jose Batute, ang liit-liit compared sa nakita nyong Virgin Mary kanina. Di ba? Now, look at the left side, Batute, top right, LT, down right, Chynna. Anything that you see in particular with the chorus or the actors. If you can see here, Tanghalang Jose Batute, ayan lang ang chorus ko, oh. Mabibilang mo sa daliri mo. But when we went to LT, because it's a larger venue, we have to double the size of the chorus. I think for the Batute, we had what, 30? And then to LT, we became 50. And then pagdating ng Chynna, Zoom, 10 people. So, maraming factors ang papasok, lalo na kapag nagtutour kayo. At marami ring aspeto ng theater ang naaapektuhan. In Tanghalang Batute, ang orly namin was Eladio Pamaran. When we went to LT, nag-iba na siya kasi schedule ng artista, nag-iba na rin. Si Johnson Uyna ang naging orly namin, and then Melvin Lee became the priest, and then Dulce was Elsa's mom in Batute, and then when we went to LT, it was Jai Aracama and Mia Bolaños as Aling Saling. Okay? All right. Now, the lighting fixtures, maraming nagbago in terms of lighting in Himala from Batute to LT to Chynna. But these ones that I am showing you right now, the left side is Batute. Imagine mo, isa-isang bumbilya yan. May kanya-kanyang kable na ilalapat at isasalpak sa board. Okay? Yan sa Batute. Mabibilang mo pa yan. Pagdating ng LT, dumoble yan. So, medyo natagalan kami sa pag-iilaw dahil dyan because mano-mano pa rin yan eh. Bawat isang bumbilya, meron niyang kable, lalatagan mo yan, and then ipapatch mo to the board hoping nakakayanin niya at lahat mapapailaw. And every day, every start of the show, isa yan sa mga chine-check namin kung lahat yan ng bumbilya na yan ay umiilaw. In Tanghalang Jose Batute, the makeup needs to be, the color needs to be set right kasi malapit siya sa audience eh. So, the leper, pag lumalakad siya sa audience, kitang-kita mo talaga yung sugat. Pero pagdating sa LT, medyo dinamihan tapos lumaki yung sagap ng sugat sa body part kasi hindi na siya ganun ka-prominent pag LT dahil medyo malalim yung LT kasi as a venue. Okay, so that was Himala. I hope you learned a lot in the process of touring Himala from Batute to LT to Shanghai, China. But again, before I move on to ZsaZsa Zaturnnah the musical, I would just like to do a quick check-in with everybody. Okay pa ba kayo? Please type in the chat box if you're okay, if you're good. If you have any questions, just type it in the box and we will deal with that when we go to the Q&A later. Okay? So bigyan ko lang kayo ng siguro 20 seconds of a breathing room. Okay? Oh, I'm happy that you're enjoying the topic and you're learning a lot. Thank you. Itong ZsaZsa Zaturnnah is a very, 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 very fun musical. Nako. Kung ang Himala, every show, and I kid you not, every show I cry. I cry because of clapping and, doing a standing ovation for all the actors and staff kasi ang ganda-ganda talaga ng Himala. Pero itong ZsaZsa Zaturnnah, sobrang tawa lang kami ng tawa. Okay. Let's move on to ZsaZsa Zaturnnah the musical. Now, what are the successes and considerations for touring ZsaZsa? What are the additional roles that I had while we were on tour? And then the challenges that we have encountered. Okay? So, one of the successes of ZsaZsa Zaturnnah is that, of course, it's composed of highly acclaimed creative team and cast. Our director was Chris Miliado, the playwright was Chris Martinez, story and concept and comic book was Carlo Vergara, composer and musical director was Vince De Jesus, and Vince is or was our composer and musical director also for Himala. Jed Balsamo was our pianist in Himala before, then became the vocal coach. Then he became a musical director here in ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. And then Ding Cruz was our choreographer. And then Carlon Matobato became also our part choreographer in some of the reruns of ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. Then Gina Gonzalez, Sunny Aniceto was our set designer. And then it became Tax Rotakio for LT. And then our cast, Yula Valdez, Kay Brosas, Tax Rotakio, Vince De Jesus, Joey Paras, Richie Chan, Narca Bico, Lauren Navarro, Arnold Reyes, Agot Isidro, Kalila Aguilos, and Wilma Dasen. Sobrang panalo tong casting ng ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. I think it's one of those casting na perfect lahat ng artista for their specific roles. And then this is considered for touring because it's one of the first comics to musical adaptations. Sobrang kokonte ng gumagawa ng adaptations then. TP started it with Himala from movie to musical. Now, comics to musical naman. And then, this is the most staged musical of Tanghalang Pilipino. Imagine we had 8 runs, 91 shows. Out of the 8 runs, I did 5 of them. And almost, if not at all, sold out po silang lahat. Hindi namin alam kung saan galing ang audience namin, pero I kid you not, everyday sold out kami. That's why there was a call for a larger audience viewership kasi ito yung show na ang dami talaga naming na-turn down. So, nagkaroon siya ng rerun in different venues kasi CCP was not available na at that time. Although Tanghalang Pilipino is a resident company, theater company in CCP, of course, it also gets its profit from other companies that rents the venue. So, na-bump off kami. So, we had to go and consider different venues. And of course, this is an award-winning musical. If I'm not mistaken, Yula Valdez got her Aliw Award for Best Actress for this musical. So, what were my additional roles on tour? Actually, in ZsaZsa Zaturnnah, wala masyado. Kasi, ewan ko ba, yung mga actors namin, lalo na yung yung main actors, napaka-solid nila. Na like Yula Valdez, she really expressed that she wanted to do the role until wherever. Kahit saan man kami dalhin, siya talagang gagawa ng ZsaZsa. So, wala akong masyadong naging additional role. Once lang when I became the translator of the excerpt nung pinalabas namin sa Sinag Arts Center. Shoko Matsumoto was our lighting designer then for ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. And then Shoko was running a workshop with her Japanese students in Sinag Arts Center. And then part of her students' project was to do a lighting design for ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. So we did an excerpt. Ngayon, ang students ni Shoko Matsumoto ay mga Hapon. So, ang problema naman dyan ay they do not understand the Filipino language. So, ngayon, Herbie asked me, Herbie was our artistic director then for Tanghalang Pilipino. He asked me if I can do the translation. Total, maikli lang naman. And for me, again, like yung sinabi ko kanina, makikita niyo sa contract ko, SM lang ako. Pero, there are these things na assigned to you. Pwede ko naman, sige, hindian. Pero, for me, it's more of challenging myself. What else can I do and how I can help as well. Kasi konti lang naman eh. Kesa magbayad pa ng translator, few pages lang naman. And plus, ako rin lang din naman ang tatanungin ng mga estudyante ni Shoko Matsumoto, di ba? So, I would just save myself of doing double job. O sige na, ako na nga lang maging translator kesa mag-mediate pa ako. Okay? But it was fun translating it. Now, on the left side, you will see the venues that we had, the challenges that we had, and the solutions that we did, just like what you saw in Himala previous slides ago. So, for Tanghalang Batute, Huseng Batute and LT, there was a change in venue. Of course, there will be modifications in the set pieces, props, and costume. There was a change in schedule. Then there will be additional cast and alternates. Now, ZsaZsa ran in RCBC, PETA, and Sinag. Again, nagkaroon ulit ng another change of venue. Every time we change the venue, there is modification in set pieces, props, and costume. And again, nag-change din ang schedule. So, you will hire additional cast, additional alternates. Now, not all shows, we had to hire additional cast or alternates. You will know later on kung anong venue at anong show yung nag-hire kami. Now, in Sinag, there was a language barrier because Shoko Matsumoto students, very few of them understand Tagalog. So I had to translate the excerpt script to English. And there was a very tight itinerary every time we move in different venues. Why? Kasi while doing ZsaZsa Zaturnnah, we are also doing other productions. So just imagine my schedule alone, ha? I am the resident stage manager for Tanghalang Pilipino for all the productions, not only ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. So habang nangyayari ito, may itinerary ako ng ZsaZsa, may itinerary din ako ng iba pang mga produksyon. So I had to really ask my actors and staff to be responsible and organized with their props and costumes, with everything else. And one thing that you would also like to think about is that when you tour, you need to have the best staff with you. So as an SM, dahil yung mga productions ko nagtutour, kailangan mahuhusay din yung mga hinahire namin na ASMs. Why? Kasi minsan, dahil resident SM ako ng ibang production, I will be called to a different production. Kailangan kong i-hand over yung isang production to another ASM. So, dapat yung magiging staff mo, matrain mo talaga sila. Train them really well. Or hire the best ones. Now, going to the changes and the challenges that we have encountered. So makikita nyo on the left side is the RCBC Theater. Ito yung draft niya. And then Tanghalang Joseng Batute on your top right. And then at the center is the LP. Now, for Tanghalang Joseng Batute, this was the design made by Sunny Aniceto. When it moved to LP and RCBC, this was the design that was done by Tax Rotakio. Kita nyo, ibang-iba talaga siya, di ba? Sobrang nag-adjust kaming lahat dito. From the choreography, from the actors, from the props, everything. Now, one thing also when touring a production, kailangan as an SM, you need to know at least how to read. If you don't know how to draft a ground plan, you at least need to know how to read it well. Kasi sa plano pa lang malalaman mo na kung gaano kalaki yung ma-occupy na space ng bawat set pieces. And that's very important when you are masking that to your rehearsal space. Lalo na yung mga actors mo, like in Tanghalang Joseng Batute, sanay na sanay sila dito sa space na to. Now you have a new space. You have to really mask it well and mask it to a T from the layout that was given by your designer. Makikita nyo even with the pictures later on kung paano sobrang nag-iba talaga yung set. Okay? Now, talking to Tax Rotakio, who was also our ADA, he was our actor also in ZsaZsa. When he was asked to do the set design for LT and why it changed dramatically, well, because he wants it to be his own design, not something that was lifted from the previous design, which we truly respected. And also, if you can see the race here, this was taken from the comic book itself. So, makikita nyo yung approach ng designer dito was more comics. Okay? So, ito, on the left side, ito yung nakita nyong ground plan kanina. Ito yung Batute set. Now, on the right side, makikita nyo na ibang-iba na talaga siya pagdating ng LT. Okay? Now, you can see the placement of the phallic bridge. Sa Batute, sentrong-sentro siya. Pagdating ng LT and all the other venues, medyo sideways na siya. The parlor platform, dito bare yellow. Dito nagkaroon ng naging flowery na siya. And then the pink and blue checkered stage in Tanghalang Batute versus the rays and stars that was lifted from the comic book design sa LT set. Now, this one that you see at the center is what you call a periaktoi. A periaktoi is a Greek word that that shows a fast-paced motion or a quick change in a scene. So, revolving yan, umiikot yan, pero mano-mano lang yan. Pagdating ng from Tanghalang Joseng Batute, mylar yung material. A mylar is a mirror-ish material. Makikita nyo, nagre-reflect siya. Pagdating ng LT, nawala na yung mylar. Okay, may periaktoi pa rin, pero no mylar na. Ang mylar niyan, makikita nyo mamaya, pag nag-change siya, meron siyang reflectorized side. So another set na na-modify was the satellite stage. In Tanghalang Batute, nakikita nyo para siyang it's very rustic. Napaka-rugged ng dating. Parang kurtina lang siya na nilagay dyan sa stage. Kasi the approach in Tanghalang Joseng Batute is supposed to be very campy. Very, very comic-y. It's so camp. Okay. Pagdating ng LT, medyo sumusyal na kami. Naging blinds na siya at may pulley system na siya. Noong Tanghalang Joseng Batute, meron akong ASM dyan. Siya ang nagpupool ng kurtina dyan. At talagang mano-mano lang talaga yan. Pagdating ng LT, merong pulley system but it's still manual. Oh, ito na yung sinasabi ko na periactoid change. Dito in Batute, the one on the left side, you will see itong mylar material niya na nagre-reflect, no? Pero pagdating ng LT on the right side, picture that you see, pag umikot itong periactoid na to, marireveal yung isang side niya na reflectorized. Silver finish itong side na to. So dahil nag-iba ang schedule, nag-iba ang venue, there will also be a change in your cast. So from the very beginning, Yula Valdez really wanted to do all of the shows. She was really adamant in doing all of the shows. Ang problem was that when we have decided to have a rerun, we really coordinated with her manager. But she already accepted a TV soap that that would be demanding of her time. So we had to cast another actress for the role. She still did LT and RCBC. It's just that not all the shows she can do. So Kay Brosas was one of the actress that came to our minds, and we had her do ZsaZsa Zaturnnah. Another change in the cast was Vince De Jesus as Ada for LT and Tanghalang Batute, the one that you see on the left side. Tax Rutacio was the original Ada, and he was there in all of the venues. Kaya lang it was so vocally demanding and physically demanding yung role, and for us, although kumikita ka because of the touring production, you have to make sure that your actors are also safe and they are healthy. So you need to make sure that there are people that can do the show or can step into the role. That's why we had alternates. And so Vince De Jesus stepped in to be as our Ada. Medyo walang hirap. Well, I mean, mahirap din because Vince De Jesus stepped as Ada. But to make it easier on his part, he was the composer and he knows all the songs and he sings. So medyo that part medyo naging madali for Vince De Jesus. Now, eto yung may pinakamarami kong change na DD, Diyos mio. Etong role na to is very controversial. So Richie Chan was the original DD in Tanghalang Hoseng Batute. And then when we did it again in Batute, twice siya nag-run in Tanghalang Hoseng Batute and LT, Joey Paras became our DD. And then when Joey heard that there will be a tour in RCBC and in LT, meron na siyang mga projects na natanggap na hindi niya na mahihindian. So we had to have another DD for the show. And that was Narcabico. And all three of them were amazing as DD. Promise. Every one of them delivered differently, but they were all amazing. Another role na controversial in ZsaZsa Zaturnnah was the Dodong. Ang dami kong naging Dodong. So si Lauren Noveno for LT and Tanghalang Hoseng Batute, Arnold Reyes in all venues, and then there was also Janvier Daily, and there's I think Red Concepcion also did Dodong. Now, kaya naging controversial itong role ni Dodong kasi eto lang ang role na in-audition. May audition for Dodong, and at the same time, kasama sa audition requirement ang abs ni Dodong. So may one time, Sir Chris cannot attend the the audition itself for Dodong. So I had to sit in. Syempre, okay sa akin yun. So I had to sit in, and then I had to hold the audition for Dodong with I think Jed Balsamo and Vince De Jesus. And kailangan talagang makita ang abs ni Dodong because of that description in the comic books. Yung noodles ni Dodong ay talaga namang katakam-takam for Ada. So, yan ay isa sa mga requirement. And another one, another thing that changed also for the cast would be the chorus members. Sobrang palipat-lipat ng venue ang ZsaZsa Zaturnnah from a small scale to being larger and larger venues. So nagdadagdag talaga kami ng chorus. The Amazonistas, we also had to have alternates for them. So Tess Hamias and Sky for Nora A, Mayen, Sharon C, Dida Vilma S, Wilma Dasent, and Wena Nagales as Dina B. So, para lang, kasi yung iba sa kanila hindi talaga kaya mag-commit ng long-running productions. So, before we move on to the Touring SM's Thinking Kit, may quick check-in lang ako ulit with you. Are you still okay there? Okay pa ba kayo? I hope that you are learning a lot. I hope that hindi pa kayo napapagod listening to me. So just type okay or we're good or nandito lang kami, just for me to have a quick check-in on you guys. All right. I'm happy that you're having that you're finding it fun. Yeah, ZsaZsa Zaturnnah was really a fun production. I really miss it so much. Okay. Now we move on to the Touring SM's Thinking Kit. Kasi even if you are already an SM, when you go on tour, it's another demand that will be asked of you. You can only prepare so much. And even when you are doing a regular production, you already prepare so much. Much more pag nag-tour yung production na hinahawakan mo. And you need to have a lot of foresight to anticipate everything and a lot of flexibility. So, I will share with you some of the things, ang aking mga should have, could have, woulda, mga things na sana nagawa ko or I could have done better. And I hope that you will be able to learn from them. So one is to document everything. Now, even if yung production, hindi mo alam na magtutour siya o hindi. Kasi, like say for example, Himala. Hindi naman namin alam na dadalhin siya sa China beforehand eh. Lahat ng touring, nangyayari lang yan. Minsan in the middle of the run, ay, itutour pala siya. So document everything. It's very, very important. Yung mga blocking notes on the script, ilang script na pinagdaanan ng Himala at ZsaZsa sa akin, Diyos mio. Dahil, lalo na yung ZsaZsa, na ang dami kong script niyan. Natatawa ako when I remember the handoff to May Bueta Chavez and to Shin Lihiner kasi sila yung sumunod na stage managers ng ZsaZsa. They were asking for the script. Sabi ko, anong version ang gusto nyong makita? Kasi ang dami talagang nangyari and maganda na nado-document everything. Record rehearsals and performances if possible. And when you do record, you also have to ask permission from your actors, from your staff, from your director. Why do I say this? Kasi there were so many times na pag nagtutour ang isang production, minsan hindi maganda yung quality ng performance na na-record. So, minsan malabo, hindi mo makita nasan yung isang prop na yan? Minsan may hinahanap kang prop, nasaan na yon? Hindi mo makita kasi hindi naman siya nakita nung ni-record nung specific performance. Sa CCP pa naman noon, parang 1 o 2 beses lang ire-record ang show. So, ako as an SM, mas gusto ko na nakikita ko yung show in my own perspective, yung angulo na gusto ko. Kasi pagdating ng touring, may reference ako. Ay, itong prop na to dito nakalagay yan. Ano ang pruweba ko? Eto. Yung ganon. So, maganda na na-document mo everything. And then, eto talaga yung regret ko. Invest on high-resolution cameras. Well, because nung panahon ko, wala pa namang high-resolution camera noon. And at the same time, yung mga mayayaman lang nakaka-afford noon. Struggling artist ako noon. So, wala pa akong high-resolution camera. Pero kung meron man akong i-invest siguro, I would have invested on a high-resolution cam. Kasi, katulad nito, while I was compiling the pictures for this lecture, ang dami kong taong binulabog para lang makahingi ng decenteng picture. Dahil mostly na mga pictures na meron ako ay blurred. Or nakorap na dahil disket pa noon. Diyos mio. So, really invest on a good camera, document everything. And one day you will thank yourself for having a really comprehensive collection of all of these memorabilia from the show. Next would be tracking sheet. Pag nag-tour kayo, kailangan your staff, hindi lang ikaw ang gagawa nito. You can make the basic template, pero usually I ask my ASMs to help me with a tracking sheet. With a costume, prop, and set changes with photos. Noon, wala pang digital form. Lahat yan nasa production book lang. Or, meron talaga kaming scene breakdown. Meron kaming sheet na makikita mo itong costume na to, ginawa nino, ginawa ba yan? Was it fabricated? Was it borrowed? Or was it an existing costume from a previous production? Ganon ka-detalyado. Ngayon, nung naging part na yan ng production mo, at itutour yan, sinong gagamit niyan, ilang tao ang magpapasa-pasa niyan, and at the same time, may modifications bang nangyari dyan? Saan papunta yan? Saan isa-store yan? At saan ang final landing? So isipin mo kung ilang costume, ilang prop, ilang set yan. Set pieces yan na itatrack mo. So as an SM, hindi mo magagawa lahat yan. So you have to delegate all of them. Now, ang aking shoulda, woulda, coulda dyan, I hope na na-digitalized lahat. Kasi yung production book, for me, looking back, dati feeling ko ang comprehensive nun. Ngayon, parang feeling ko siya, ay, sana nadagdagan pa. So, always have a digital format of everything that you document. Next is a comprehensive production book list. So, I have a sample for you, and I share this with your professors as well. If you can see here, these are the things that should be in the production book if you want it to be very comprehensive. So, ang dami niyan. Hindi lang siya yung existing list. Now, if you want it to be comprehensive, kasi para sa akin, sobrang nakakatulong talaga siya for touring. Kasi nakikita mo kung gaano kalalim yung naging proseso ng isang production. Okay? Okay. Ito yung sample din ng itinerary. If you just want to look at it, again, if you have a copy of my slide, I also hyperlink this to the slide para meron kayong kopya. Okay. Next would be ensuring safety. Ito, I cannot really emphasize it more than what it needs to be. Umulit. When you are touring, please ensure the safety of your actors and staff. Importante yan. Although, hindi lang sa'yo ang malaking burden yan, pero as an SM, meron kang call to service for the safety of your actors. Thankfully, I never had an injury in any of the tours or accidents in any of the tours, pero meron tayong tinatawag na accident and injury report form. Yung PDF file na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina with the production book, if you scroll further down, makikita nyo yung report form doon. Emergency contact form, it's very, very, very important that you know who to contact when you go on tour. And even when you are just on a regular production. Kasi meron akong naging production noon, hindi siya nag-tour, pero nagkaroon ng injury yung isa kong actor. Though hindi naman umabot sa emergency, but I know who to contact just in case. Alam mo yon? So, I hope that this is something that you can also try to practice if you become a stage manager. All right. And again, for all of the things that you see in here, there is a sample. Ito siya, yung PDF na yan. This is what I have shared with your teachers. Meron din ito, sample ng touring agreement form if you want to see. And if you want to draft your own when you become a stage manager. I think this is the accident report form. So these are some of the samples that you can see. Ito, yung site survey, isa ito sa mga shoulda, woulda, coulda ko din. Kasi sometimes, because of the busyness in the theater with performances and rehearsals, sometimes ang SM, hindi siya nakakapunta sa ocular or site survey. And for me, sobrang important nun sa akin kasi dun ko nakikita, dun ko na-visualize kung ano ang magiging layout ng backstage ko and the traffic of set changes. So, kung sakali na mag-tour ang production nyo in the future, I think having a site survey form is very important. Sometimes the PM and the TD does this, but if you want, this is a very good practice for you. So this is the emergency medical information sheet. So all of the sheets that I was asking you a while ago, nandito siya. Ito rin, it's an important form, the stage management load-in checklist, lalong-lalo na kapag first time yung papasok sa venue. So what are the things that you need to check? What are the things that you need to bring? You need to set up. Kumbaga basic list, pero pwede pang madagdagan. At least meron na kayong kopya. And of course, there's also a stage management strike list. Okay? So yan lamang. Okay, now babalik tayo sa presentation. Now I have some final reflections for you guys or extensions. Maybe you can choose to do any one, isa lang, of the following. Either A, you can reflect on one of your past productions where you've been an SM. If that production will tour, create a task list of your first 10 to-do list to start off, and then consider the current pandemic situation. Kung magtutour yon, lalong-lalo na at this time of situation, what would be part of your task list? You can refer to the task list in the PDF document that I share with you. What would be a systematic way, or what would be systematic ways of documenting or tracking changes or progress when touring productions? You can suggest a manual or digital system that you think will promote efficiency, especially in the SM's job in the time of COVID-19. So lalo na ngayon, there's a boom of technology. Lahat halos na-digitalize na. Now, what do you think would be systematic ways of documentation? Meron bang app na pwedeng magamit for documenting and tracking changes and progresses when touring productions? Or what would be a systematic way of digitizing um, progress when touring productions? Or the last one would be pretend you are a stage manager of a touring production, draft your own version of your touring agreement, and you may see a sample from the hyperlink texts. So choose to do any one of the following. It's a very good exercise for you to extend your learning, especially in the topic of touring productions. So if you have any questions, I think now is the time to do a Q&A. So I have a QR code for you. You can use that using your phones, or you can type in the chat box, and I will be ready for any question that you may have.
Ayun, maraming salamat po, Ma'am Chynna.
Yes.
Okay, sige. Let's wait kung... Ay, nakukita ang aking aircon. Okay, hello, ayan. So, ayun, napakaganda ng topic natin today about touring production. So, nakita natin students na parang napaka-importante. Naku, dapat sineryoso nyo yung 151 nyo last semester, last year. Kay Sir Carlo, kasi dyan nyo matututunan yung pagbabasa ng tech plan.
Ground plan,
Ako,
oo.
nakita na ang teacher nyo, ground plan. Oo. Ako din, nung nag-start ako mag-SM, dahil si Ma'am Barbie ang aking usually yung nag-ano ko, TV ko, pinapagalitan niya ako kasi hindi ako marunong. So, natuto na rin ako magbasa. So, baka may mga question yung students natin about touring productions. Lalo na yung mga stage managers siguro natin. Yeah, we'll wait for your questions. Ayan. Sige, let's
Okay,
go.
Camilo, go ahead.
Guzman?
Hello. So, my question is about... My question is about the modifications when it comes to touring. So what are the discussions, or what is the process with your artistic team when it comes to, or how do you manage the different expectations when it comes to the artistic team, when it comes to, as you said, like changing the cast or changing the set or all of the different modifications that happen?
Well, most of the time, wala na yung discussion with me. Kumbaga kasi napag-usapan na nila kung ano yung magiging changes or magiging modification sa set, no, or sa props or sa costume. Ngayon, pag na-hand over sa akin yung modifications, I just have to find a way on how to make it as efficient as possible. So say for example, kung change ba yan in costume, may quick change ba yan? So kailangan kong i-practice yan with the cast. Kung yung change sa costume ba, maapektuhan ba yung choreography? Kailangan kong i-practice yan again with the actors. I have to make time and make sure na ma-practice nila yan. If it's the prop, again, may rehearsal dapat dyan. So I think the key there is to make sure that the changes that were taken effect by your designers need to be communicated properly and well to your actors, and make sure that they practice with it and they have time to rehearse with it. Kasi magagalit din sila kapag binigla mo sila tapos hindi mo man lang binigyan ng opportunity for them to rehearse on a new prop, new costume, or new set piece. Ang drastic po ng changes, how much time is given for the team to adjust to everything? To be honest with you, sometimes there's no time, Kinea. Oo. I will be honest with you. Sometimes there's no time to adjust for everything. Lucky kung merong ample time. Pero kung wala, you just have to execute it and just do your best. That's why importante talaga na maging flexible ang isang SM. Kasi you can only prepare so much, pero minsan yung sa China namin, flight namin, meron ang change in schedule. So, hindi pa kami naglaland mismo doon sa venue, meron ng change. So, dapat maging flexible ka. Kasi kahit na no matter how much you prepare, always remember that there will always be something that will come up. And when you think like that, then you will develop your foresight. Always remember na, ano kayang pwedeng mangyari? How can I prepare for that if that happens? So, adjust your expectation, adjust your thinking, be flexible, and as much as possible, have a very good foresight. Yun lang masasabi ko.
Thank you po.
So may iba
Thank you, Kinea.
Thank you, Kinea, sa question mo. So may iba bang questions sa class? Naku, yung class ko lalo, magtanong na kayo kasi may homework kayo sa akin.
Ay,
Ayan,
may homework si teacher.
Tama ba? Tataas ka ba ng kamay?
Camilo
yes.
uli?
Yes
Okay,
po.
go.
Another question po about yung additional roles. I think we discussed it also in our class with Sir Ish about the additional roles that SMs take. Do you think that it should be like if an SM or anyone in the production takes on these additional roles, that it should be stated in their contract or that it should be formalized? Or because how do we differentiate maybe overworking our staff members or ourselves as stage managers?
Alam mo, napakaganda ng question mo. And that is also another layer to the ever-evolving things that need to be changed in the practices in Philippine theater. That I personally believe, no? Una, sige, sasagutin ko yung dapat ba naka-reflect sa contract lahat ng gagawain mo bilang when you are hired in a company. Oo naman, dapat malinaw yon sa kontrata. Pero limitado ka ba sa kontrata? Hindi. Kasi sa totoong buhay, especially in the Philippines, katulad ko, yung na-experience ko, may ilang mga roles na hindi ko naman ina-ask, pero andyan na siya. Kailangan ng may sumalo. Ano pang magagawa ko? I had to do it because I was faced in that situation. So I had to. Pero bibigyan ko lang kayo ng ibang perspective. When you go to different companies, iba-iba ang practice. Sa PETA, iba. Sa Atlantis, iba. Sa Tanghalang Pilipino, iba. When you go to a different country, iba rin. Pag nasa ibang bansa kayo, like yung ako, when I toured with different companies overseas, kung ano lang talaga yung nasa kontrata, yun lang talaga yung ginagawa ko. Kasi, especially in different countries, meron tayong tinatawag na unions. So, the union protects the artists from being overworked or being underpaid or pag hindi sila nababayaran ng tama against doon sa service na binibigay nila. Now, minsan, dahil wala namang union sa Philippines, minsan naaabuso yon. So, may mga staff na talaga namang na-overwork. Pero, meron din point in your life na katulad ko na hindi ko tiningnan yon as overworking. For me, gusto kong gawin yon. I want to challenge myself. Pero to answer your question, there is no exact answer to that kasi bawat kumpanya may kanya-kanyang practice, bawat bansa may kanya-kanya ring practice on contracts. But dapat ba na nakalagay talaga sa kontrata kung ano ang dapat mong gawin once na employ ka ng isang kumpanya? Yes. That would be my answer.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Camilo.
Thank you po.
I'm afraid.
Thank you, Camilo.
Ito na po yung last question natin kasi malapit na mag-1. So muli, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng dumalo. And thank you po, Ma'am Chynna, sa inyong pag-share na experiences sa touring production. So dito po nagtatapos ang Emergency Theater and Performance Brown Bag Sessions on Possibilities and Problems of Theater and Performance during the Pandemic. Muli, maraming salamat po.
Picture.
Wait lang, ate. Wait lang. Okay na. Naku, ang hirap ikat neto. Bigla kang pumasok, Ate Olive. Class picture tayo, guys. Photo credits, yan.
Mag-open lang kayo kung gusto ninyo. Parang ang nakapin.
Oo.
Ay, sorry.
Thank you so much. Tsaka papasalamatan ko tong mga taong to na ginambala ko for the pictures. Thank you so much, Gino, Tanghalang Pilipino, Tata Nanding, Sir Dennis, Herbie, Chi, Danny, Juan Lorenzo, Johan, Rizwena, Chunchi, Tess, Tax, Paulo, and Olive. Maraming salamat for the photos. Thank you.
Biglang archivist pala si Ate Olive. Okay, sige.
Correct. Thank you so much sa mga students nyo. Salamat, nag-enjoy ako. Maraming salamat.
Another project has ended, but it is with pride that this brown bag online forum on emergency theater and performance was realized, and many of you were able to attend it. This forum, which focused on possibilities and problems of theater and performance in this time of the pandemic, tackled a wide range of issues, and we are thankful to the speakers who shared their valuable knowledge and experience. From new and emergent performance forms and ways of exploring possibilities of online and digital modalities, especially on the learning and teaching of theater and performance, onto the state of artist welfare during this global health crisis. The topics opened windows of possibilities and opportunities. They enrich our knowledge on issues in theater and performance in this time of COVID. One of the sectors in the society that has been heavily impacted by this pandemic is the theater and entertainment industry. So this forum is very relevant and timely to reflect on how these matters are being dealt with and to give us insights on how to stay afloat despite the huge challenges that we have to face. I thank all the speakers who generously shared their valuable knowledge and experience on the various topics that were shared on this forum. I will give a special shout out to my former student, Mr. Robert Arlo de Guzman. Thanks, Arlo, for joining this very important activity. And most of all, I thank the organizers of the forum, our ever-energetic and hardworking faculty of the Theater Division of the Department of Speech, Communication, and Theater Arts, led by Assistant Professor Olivia Nieto. We're also grateful to the UP Diliman Office for Initiatives in Culture and the Arts, or OICA, for their support in this project. I hope that the knowledge gained and the valuable lessons learned from these lectures will help us navigate during these difficult times. May we overcome this with hope in our hearts and trusting that this too shall pass. Mabuhay kayo.